Good morning. Welcome to Mocha Money Monday. I'm Ashley Scott, your host, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with none other than attorney Jacinda Walker. Now, attorney Walker has a long history in helping people with their real estate development, their business, and she's been able to not just found her own law firm, but she actually co-founded another law firm. So this young lady who is a graduate of Samford University and who got her legal degree right here in Georgia at the University of Georgia Law School. Listen, I'm excited to sit down with Miss Walker, and you should be too, because we're going to dive deep into real estate today and real estate development and some of the things you need to understand as it relates to real estate closings and navigating real estate development. So without further ado, I am super excited to introduce and welcome to the stage, Miss Jacinda Walker. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. I just want to say go dogs real quick out there for those UGA fans. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first off, tell us a little bit more about you, some of the nuances around your legal career that don't always make it into the bio, right? What are some of the things that you are most proud of in your career?
So I didn't go straight to law school. I didn't follow a traditional path from undergrad. After undergrad, I went to grad school and I finished an MBA with a concentration in accounting and finance. I was very uncertain about law school because all the myths and everything surrounding it, I was a little bit scared. Not gonna lie, I was kind of terrified. But I went to law school, and I think one of the little known facts, I actually went to law school with a 1 year old. I had my 1 year old daughter with me in law school. And so if you talk to any of my law school classmates, there are times when they would just straight up take my daughter from me and take her to class with them. It very much was a village situation. There were some other moms in law school, and I'm telling you, without them, I would not have made it at all.
Hmm. Well, I love that story because we are a part of a network of women, phenomenal women, and some really dope, phenomenal men too. And that village is everything. And one of the things that we're trying to do is create community. So I really would love to talk about. I kind of have a claim to fame of like helping to bring my 19 friends and family together to do a really big real estate transaction. And it went really well, but then it didn't go so good down the road. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of the legal aspects of real estate transactions, especially as a business owner, someone who might be like really interested in maybe buying commercial real estate or even getting into real estate development to build a commercial or a residential project, a subdivision, because we have a lot of our network who's really interested in doing big deals. So let's talk a little bit about that and some of these aspects of real estate transactions that we might not always know, because those nuances, that's what we like to get into, is the nitty gritty. So help us with some of that.
I think when it comes to larger projects, I think one of the things that people that misconstrue is that your personal credit no longer matters. And unfortunately, when it comes to larger projects, your personal credit still matters.
Mm,
There's been a huge movement on business credit. And while you can establish credit, business credit, and it is important, your personal credit still comes into play for commercial developments, especially if you're just starting out. So as a newbie, whether it be a single house, whether it be an entire neighborhood or development, they're going to lean heavily on your personal experience and your personal credit. So it's really important to not only try to build that business credit up, but you cannot forget about your personal credit. I think the second thing that people kind of put to the wayside is they forget how important it is to have a stake in the game. So whether it be that you already own the asset, whether it be that you have some money set to the side, they're going to require you to put something into the asset. And for most people, that's going to be money. You're going to be required to have a certain amount of your down payment already amassed
mm,
inside your entity. Okay. And that's another important part too, is like if your entity is already active, they're expecting to see those funds inside your entity. So not just at the four you guys have your 20,000 sitting in your prospective accounts. You're going to make sure that, that 20,000 is inside the entity account, and that the entity is created, has the EIN, and you are treating it as such. So I feel like when it comes to commercial, which is anything that's not your personal home, is considered commercial. So not just commercial properties, but anything Even a single family is considered commercial if it's not going to be your primary residence. So anything that's outside of your primary residence or a straight vacation home, right? Something that you're not looking to make money off of, you're going to want to make sure that you have an entity associated with that piece. And this is kind of where business law and real estate overlap. It happens quite a bit, but this is one of those times where it's important for you to have your entity set up correctly. It's important that you have an operating agreement. It's important that you have your EIN. It's important that you have your bank account. All those things have to be in place before we start talking about moving forward with commercial lenders. It's the first thing they're going to ask for.
These are good points. Now, I'm interested in learning a little bit more around the entities because we get into these conversations all the time, right? Like, I have my own company and you have your own company, and now we want to do business together. Are we supposed to take the more seasoned company and do business with that? Do each of the companies own a piece of a new entity that we're creating together? What's the story on these entities, Jacinta?
So it really depends on what you want to do. You have a couple of options. I'll say the most popular two options are we joint venture, which is where I take my company, you take your company, we come together basically, and we do this project. And so we're both getting credit for it. The entities have credit for it. The entities have the experience. Okay. The most common way, though, for real estate developers and people who are entering these projects is to create a new entity. I would say the most common is to go by the address of the actual property. Okay, so there's no overlap. There's no cause that this entity won't be available. If my property is 123 Maple Lane, the entity is going to be 123 Maple Lane. And from a commercial standpoint, you both still get credit for it. You could have your entities be members of that new entity, or you individually could. But regardless, when it comes to experience, a lot of real estate investors and developers have multiple companies that they have experience under. So don't fall into the myth that everything has to be under this one company because it simply isn't true. All you need to prove is that you're a part of that company and that what projects you did under that company. They're going to ask you for what we call like a deals sheet or a deals list to show your experience. And it doesn't matter if there's one entity or 20, it's purely your preference.
Okay. Now let's talk about these real estate closings, right? Because I know as a real estate agent, I can't do anything in Georgia without a closing attorney because that's how we roll here in the state of Georgia, right? And
Yes.
so I would love to know more about just some insight because there's all kinds of things that can happen at the closing table, things that you don't know are going to happen at the closing table, right? So, what
Yeah.
are some maybe your top three things that you would tell someone to expect when you're going to a real estate closing?
So I would say time, right? I think it's time. I would say at least an hour for closing, like minimum. So you want to make sure that you have the enough time to get to the closing. I would say that they're going to explain documents to you, even if you're seasoned. Like we'll shorten our response time, right? If you're a seasoned investor, but just know that literally it's a job of the attorney to explain the documents while you're sitting there. And then third, I think it's funding. I think people believe that it's going to be instant, but most lenders, even commercial or private lenders on the investment side, they require funding authorization. So we have to get everything signed, send it to them, scan it off, wait for them to get funding authorization before we're able to fund. So even if you sign your documents in 30 minutes, I might not have funding authorization for 3 hours. So just be aware of that. Like we'll send you back, we'll send you off with like, hey, go ahead and we'll let you know when we fund. Yeah.
Okay. So now what are some of the things that you've seen that can go awry, right? I know every situation is different, but I know you done seen some top things that you'd be like, what the hell? Excuse my French. Like, what is happening? So what are some of the things when because we always say you don't know what you don't know and to expect the unexpected. So what
Right.
are some of those unexpected things that we don't know that we don't know that could come up when you're sitting down, especially with some of these larger real estate deals? I have a lot of our people who are in development who are buying, acres of land, who might be buying old, really commercial buildings with the intention of redeveloping them and doing, renovations so that they can turn it into mixed use or to turn, something that might have been commercial and turn it into, maybe even a veterans village is one of the projects that we have on the table. So what are some of those
That's funny.
things that you
Um,
think come up?
when it comes to larger deals, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's so much due diligence. There isn't much that comes up at a closing table on larger deals just because of the amount of due diligence that goes into it and the amount of documentation that a lender requires. But I would say if something were to come up, just be flexible because one of the things that happens is things get left off of the HUD, right? And as a closing attorney, if there's a lender involved, we can't change the HUD. Okay, the lender has to change the HUD. So there's a little bit of a waiting game. If we notice, oh wait, insurance is not here, or oh, they come to the table and they're like, oh wait, this person's supposed to be paid off on the HUD. Those things have to be added, and we'll have to wait for the lender to update the HUD and send it back to us. And then we have to balance again and then print it out and be ready to sign. So sometimes that can be a delay. Just be prepared when it comes to personal, like if it's investment, development deals, they may require a personal guarantee. And so a lot of people are off put by that. But if you're asking for a large sum of money, they're going to want more than one way to recoup their money in the event the project fails. Okay. And most of the time, that's going to be a personal guarantee. So they're going to require that you or all the members of the entity sign and guarantee that if something happens, that you'll personally step in to cover the debt. So just be prepared for that, especially if you're a new investor or a new developer. Be prepared that a personal guarantee is typically going to be a part of the package.
Mm. Now let's talk a little bit about navigating some of this real estate development and how maybe you've experienced a big part for me in the experience that I've had, me as well as some of my clients and friends in the business, is just trying to get permits and trying to get into a place where you're shovel ready, you can
Ooh,
do the things you need to do, right? So let's jump into that, right? How do we navigate the aspect of working with the government when we're talking about these private public partnerships that sometimes we're doing deals with land banks, we're doing deals with Invest Atlanta, you're
yes.
doing deals with the county has to get you your permits. What are some of the ways that you think can help make your experience go smoother when you're talking about navigating real estate development?
So make friends at the county. Be nice to them. You are going to need them. No matter how off putting it may be, or you feel like the situation is ridiculous, do not ever be rude to them because you will never get your permit. And that's just human decency, right? We want to be nice to the people that have to help us. One of the things you can do is go ahead and start forging that relationship at the beginning of your project, meeting the people, going down, physically going down to the office. If you're working through Invest Atlanta or you're going through a land bank, they actually have direct connections and resources to the county. So use them. Ask them for those connections and resources. They already have them set up, and typically they're ready to approve and push you through. Listen to the advice that they give you. Typically, they don't want to deny anything, but they have guidelines that they have to work through. So just listen to what they're advising you and move forward. You can also get legal help with permits. Like there are real estate attorneys who do full service real estate who will assist you and push through and help you get your permit. So if you really feel like you're hitting a stumbling block and you're just unfamiliar and it's not your area, you can go through an attorney. You can go through your general contractor. That should be another resources that you're leaning on. So whoever your general contractor is should already have connections and resources in the county that you're building so they can help push through and get your permit.
So if you were going to make a hit list of the team you need to be successful with your real estate transactions and your real estate development projects, who's your hit list? Who do you need to have on a winning team to push your project to the finish line?
Okay, you definitely need to have a real estate attorney. You must have a general contractor, okay, with experience in the county that you're building in. It doesn't matter how much they built if they've never built in Fulton County before. It doesn't matter. They're going to have a very difficult time in getting things done. Okay. You want to make sure that you have proper insurance. So you need an insurance agent, right? We got builder's risk and everything that has to come with it. You also need general liability insurance for your company as a whole, right? We want to protect ourselves and protect our assets. You also need an accountant. It doesn't mean they have to be on payroll, but you need somebody that's telling you, what your moves are from a tax perspective. Okay. So, this is a business. We want to make sure that we're writing off or using our accounts appropriately. All right. If you're not experienced and if it's a huge, huge project, let's say it's a development, right? you're going to want a property manager, right? Someone who can manage the project as it moves through. They're a step above a GC. They're basically going to help you get the development together and push it through. So in addition to a real estate attorney, if you're doing like a huge development project, you possibly want another attorney, an additional attorney who has experience in developments. Because there's a lot that has to happen, right? Depending on your development, they may have to partition, they may have to assist with permits, they may have to get addresses placed to the property. So, like having someone who knows how to do those basic things will really help you. And sometimes it could be one person, but sometimes you need two, depending on the size of the project. I'm working on a development in South Atlanta, and it's a huge development, and there are like 3 or 4 attorneys on the project. So just know that you may need legal counsel in different areas depending on how large your project is.
Now, I didn't hear you say anything about a real estate agent or a realtor. Are they unnecessary in this process? How do you feel about working with agents when you're in the process of real estate development?
Well, I would hope that if you're already looking at a development that you already have a property under contract. But if you don't, yes, you absolutely need a real estate agent, particularly one that specializes in commercial. So you don't want someone that has no commercial experience because they're not going to be able to help you and push you through the steps. So a good commercial agent would have like a basically a checklist of items that you would need for your development. And they would have a checklist of items that you would need as far as due diligence in order to make sure the project is going to move forward. You also need an architect. You will need an architect because you need renderings. The city wants to see your plans and your permits. Okay, so you want to have in order to be shovel ready, you need your zoning to be complete, which the attorney should take care of. You need your plans, which the architect will take care of, and you need your permits, which hopefully your GC or the attorney will be able to help you with. So you also want an architect as well. You're going to have to kind of give them a picture of what you're doing before they can approve it. So that includes like the plans, that includes the setbacks, that includes sewage, water, that includes, the traffic plan. So all that has to be included when you're talking about development. Now, when it's a single home, it's not as important. As a single home, you could lay off of some of the team, honestly. If you're just flipping a single entity, a single home, and you feel like you understand the market, you could do without an attorney until you get to the closing table. I don't ever recommend buying a home without a real estate agent, but I know that a lot of flippers do. I feel like you always leave money on the table, and I feel like that you always there's always like lurking diligence that you didn't think of when you don't have an agent. But some investors choose to move forward without an agent. I feel like you should only do that if you're a very seasoned investor. If you're new, meaning under 20 deals, you should always have an agent. Like literally, there are times when your agent can kind of sub in from you having to need legal counsel up front because they know the due diligence aspects and things you should be asking for.
I think this has been so helpful and informative, Jacinta. Is there anything else you want to leave our audience with today before we close out so that they can feel, I got that last little nugget, that last little gem, last little sauce?
Yes, I don't be scared of development. Like we need more people. We need more minorities in development. Don't be scared of it. Like it's something that you can do. You do have to do a little more things. You have to have a larger checklist. You got to put some more ducks in a row. But it's something that there are plenty of minorities that qualify to do developments. Don't be scared of it. It's a great retirement plan, and the reason why it's so popular is because it makes money. It takes people from being rich to being wealthy. So don't be scared of development. Go ahead and start learning. Take classes. Touch people in the industry. Just get started. Like don't wait. Get started with however you need to get started in. If you need basic education, do that. If you need funding, let's talk to somebody to help you get funding. But don't stop. Don't feel like it's a barrier that you can't cross. Like we definitely need more minorities in the development space.
That's good advice. Now, how can people get in touch with you, Jacinta, if they decide that, hey, I am ready to take the leap into real estate development and I think I need a good lawyer to help me and support me on this journey? How do they get in touch with you? And better yet, are you part of the Phenomenal Views Global Network, Jacinta?
I am. I am. I've had an opportunity last year to join the network and to meet everybody, and it's been a phenomenal experience ever since. If you want to get in contact with me, you could you could come on my website. It's the J Walker Law Group. And my email is Jacinda at the J Walker Law Group. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I do free consultations for those who just have questions and just want to know where to get started. So we're eager to help. We really want to help in the education part of developers.
Awesome. Now we're headed to Black Real Estate Week next week. We want to wish everybody a happy Labor Day. It is Mocha Money Monday, and we are here thanks to our friends at Wilson's Financial Group. And we could not have had this amazing episode if it was not for Miss Jacinda Walker being our phenomenal guest today. So thank you for joining us. And thank you again for just sharing so much amazing insights and information around real estate development and the law today, Jacinta. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, audience, for tuning into another Mocha Money Monday. You can join the Phenomenal Hughes Global Network by going to phenomenalhughes.com. And if you need some support on your journey to help you to pivot, to prepare, or to prosper, for your journey as an entrepreneur, we have the coaches, we've got the virtual assistant support, and we've got the network that you need to just get involved and extend your capacity. All right. So join us now over at phenomenalhughes.com. Don't be a stranger, and we'll see you next time on Mocha Money Monday. Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.